We welcome you again with the start of the second session on this seminar, and it's about the declaration or just putting forward all the numbers concerning the competitive reports with Egypt position. You know that this global competitive report is an annual report that comes out of the Economic Forum and the ECES, who is the local partner. The role of the ECES is finding information and surveys and sending it worldwide to the entity in order to put the indications for competitiveness, and then the local entities and the ECS especially make the analysis back to know our position. And as usual, of course, the National Council for Competitiveness is a partner with us, and we are honored to have the chairman of the Egyptian Council for Competitiveness. And when we speak about it, we have to mention that Mr. Hossein Badrawi, of course, is the master and the founder of this entity. Dr. Hossein, we always have the pleasure to have him with us. As to the presentation, we'll have Dr. Abla first. She will handle the presentation, the preliminary one, and she will present the team. Dr. Abla, please have the floor. Let me please mention that about the last session, I want to present retroactively, of course, all the team that were behind all this first segment of the session. We have a statistical unit chairman by Mr. Khaled Waheed, who will be presenting the next presentation with his team, and Dr. Sahar, of course, Dr. Sahar Aboud. She is professor in the planning institution, and she's our counselor, consultant, and of course they were one of the hard workers for this investment guide. Mr. Khaled, would you please present the team, and then we are going to start the presentation, or would you like to present? Okay, then start with the presentation. This is the statistical unit that they get into these 3 months of data collection and database, and that's a lot of things. Dr. Abla, good morning. We will present now the 2018 about the competitive reports concerning Egypt. Our first point, we are going to speak about the major and basic information concerning world competitiveness and what's new in the index of the competitiveness report and Egypt's position. Of course, the first part has to deal with the basic information about the World Economic Competitiveness Report. It depends on the opinion poll and a lot of statistics from the international specialized agency in a major role. They depend on public opinion polls, and the partner is the ECES. They are the only partners for the Economic Forum in Egypt, and they are responsible for the public opinion poll. And of course, this has to do with certain indication and in the benchmarks that are applied to a lot of countries in order to know any country's position on the index or the spectrum. And we use, of course, most of the reports of the Economic Forum, and we get all these segments, and these segments of opinion poll should represent everything. It should represent the SMEs, of course, and certain companies also that we worked before with, and a lot of random samples who are subject of the political or the public opinion poll. Definitely the executive chairman is one of the pivots of this. How can we calculate the index of competitors? There are three main benchmarks, and there are three major, where there are 12 subdivisions that come from these three main elements. In the world competitive, also they depend on dividing the world according to certain developmental stages, and each stage has a certain weight, and I mean the word weight. Like, for example, 60% of the prerequisites of a certain country, which is innovative, 60%. Other lower countries on the scale are 20% only. The index gives also rankings. The higher the rank, or the higher the grade is, the better the, and of course the ranking, the less it goes, or the latest it goes, means that there is weakness in the economy. They start to work, or they usually work in 3 months. It starts in 31st of March. There are two ways to have the public opinion plan. First one is through the internet. The global rate was 50%. As to the paperwork, 49. For Egypt, only one online, and the rest of that are 99 paper-based. What's new about this competitive report? Every year we are used to having a lot of changes, but this year we have an essential changes in the report concerning the change of methodology. The customary or traditional changes is the increase in the numbers. Last year it was a certain number of countries which represented 94, but this year it's 99%, which is, an increase of certain numbers. There are also other traditional changes where in the public opinion poll they usually delete certain of questions and put other substitute questions. One of the things that were added were a lot, but the first recommendation they put first is to have the ECES participating always, and there's a new question about which they changed, which has to do with what are the sources of information, and there are substantial also changes. Why did they change? We have 4 reasons for change. Of course, the 4th industrial revolution is one. They changed in this scheme the evaluation of all the production factors, because productivity is the most important economic development basis, and they put different ways for the infrastructure, and they also put a new index or benchmark, which is social capital, and then they added also the lesson learned out of the crisis meltdown, and they added a certain segment which determines the country's tolerance to debts. They also introduced certain changes which have to do with the improvement of the indicator from 1 to 7 is 0. They changed it to 0, from 0 to 100, and they introduced other things also concerning missing data. As to the changes in the new changes in the report, is that they are gonna sort of depend on more and more information. They deleted certain things, and they introduced 4 main pivots in collecting information, and they prioritized in a new way the benchmarks ranking, and of course they sort of made a link between the previous results of the competitive report and this year's result. The first thing also they added, as I told you, they increased the weight of the statistical information. It became 70% versus 30% in last reports, and for the public opinion it also increased. The indicator in the second change was 114. It was a sub-indicator, so out of 98 they put a new 64 brand new benchmarks. As to the index measurement, there were 12 bases that pour into three main sources. This green is the best, of course, and the red is the worst. So they put from 0 to 100 instead of the previous indicator. They completely deleted and canceled the major indicators. And as I told you, they introduced these 4 points on the board, and they introduced a lot of changes concerning weight again. And now they have fixed weights, which is 8.3 for all the requirements. The new prerequisites also is the information technology, and the dynamics of work is a new also dimension in the report. And they recalculated all the statistics and the virgin backlast so that we can compare countries against last year's. Here is a point about position of Egypt. Of course, this is a comparison between 2017. Our score becomes 63.6, which makes an increase of 4%. Last year it was 53, so 4% increase, and this is a comparison of the MENA states, and this is the result on the right hand of 2018. On the left hand is 2017, where they recalculated, but we have the same result for Egypt for both years. We also compare Egypt to other countries in the same developmental stage, and these are the results for 2018. No changes, 2018 versus 2017 that far in this slide. These are the 12 prerequisites or axes that comes under 4 main ones. The first group, we can notice in the first group, as you see in the drawing, the largest indicator is the market value. This is in green. This is the best performance in the green, and that's the benchmark where we measure ourselves. We have a little slight change in the infrastructure, and Singapore was the best performance, and that's the ranking. As to the sub-indicators, we have first one, the institutions basics, and we have this green, the green color, and as we said, the indicator from 0 to 100, 100 is the best. We gave the sub-indicators, as you can see, less than 50 for red and medium, improvement orange, and the best are green. The institutions pillar, we are 120 on the rank, and it looks like from the green color is that we had a bit of change. So we started to rank more than 70. The other pillar, we have 70 in the infrastructure, and there are certain dimensions where we improved, like electricity, water, and quality of electricity. Please, they are asking him to go a bit slower. So Dr. Abla is saying that the score in 79, the one next to it means whether we are increasing or we are decreasing. Again, what we distributed for you is the hard copy for each thing. The division of 70, 50, and 40, that's our work to know where we stand, but it's not there in the original. And Dr. Abla said
that arrow up and down is for the year 2017. This is the new pillar, that is the IT system, where we had a score of 40.6%, and that green color is considered to be higher than 70. As for the fourth pillar, the mega economy, it was 51%. And as for the pillar of health, its ranking was 68.9%. It was a drop. The arrow indicates that we have dropped as compared to last year. As for education and skills, our score this year was 52.8%. And during the period of that indicator, the period spent by any student in school was more than 70%. As for the pillar of product markets, it was 42.2% that we have progressed as compared to last year. And those are the subsidiary branches, the branches of the product market. As for Pillar 8, which is the employment market, we had 46.8%, and we had a pillar more than 70% as the rate of income. As for Pillar 9, we were ranked as 52.3%, and we had better pillars as higher than 70. The regulating capital was to cover the credit gap. There are subsidiary figures here, but we do not have enough data, and the score here was 72.8%. Pillar 11, that represented two indicators better than 70%, and the business FS.
And this is the last pillar, which is the capacity for innovation. We scored 37.7, and there is only one index, which is the scientific publications, more than 70. Thank you.